Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing an album review for you guys, and today we're going to be taking a look at the newest album from Devin Townsend titled Empath. If you say it in your mind, you better... So this album, I'm a little late to the party on reviewing this one. It came out almost a month ago now, but I've been really wanting to at least talk about it, if not do a full review of it, because I do really enjoy this album a lot. Devin Townsend is an artist I've been getting into a little bit lately. He's really cool. I enjoy, his Devin Townsend project, Devin Townsend band. It's all kind of the same thing, it seems like, but just under different names, I guess. I really like his style. I really like how he approaches doing his music. I was very excited for this album because I had heard some of his other work and I thought it was really cool. And then this album came out and I just really fell in love with it. Again, I've been wanting to kind of review this, but I just haven't because I just haven't got the chance to really listen to it as much as I wanted to. I listened to it a couple of times when it first came out, but then after that only just a few songs here and there. I literally, like a few minutes ago, just finished listening to it again. I figured now, since it's fresh in my mind, it would be a good time to actually review it. So, as usual, I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, my favorite songs at the end, all that kind of stuff, so let's get right into it. So as far as the good, there is a lot of really good things about this album. As I said, I really enjoyed it, so that should be pretty obvious. As I usually like to point out first, production, pretty good, really well-produced album, and Devin Townsend's particular style of production I think is kind of neat. He does this sort of wall of sound type of approach with just a bunch of layers upon layers and layers of sound and all of that kind of thing, which he does incorporate some of that into this album. Not a whole ton of it, it's not everywhere throughout the album, but it does appear at times. And I do really like that production style, plus I just think overall the album, even when not doing that, is really well produced as well. And then the performances on this album are quite good as well in terms of the instruments and the vocals and everything. The guitars are really well done. There's some really cool kind of guitar riff moments in this album, I guess. Other instruments are done really well too. There's a bunch of really kind of out there instruments, I guess, like the intro Castaway has like Caribbean style sort of thing, and it has like steel drums and all that stuff, and he brings in some orchestral instruments and songs, horns, strings, things like that. Brings in a bunch of weird things, some electronics thrown in here just to kind of spice things up a little bit. So all the instruments are really well done, written very well. The vocals are also really good. Again, I think Devin is a really good vocalist. He has one of the best voices that I've heard in a person in quite some time. I really like his voice, and he sounds really great in this album, whether it be screaming or singing. And the screaming on this album, he has used more of it in some of his other work, but on here it's kept to a minimum, like maybe 20% at most of this album, I would say, from just what I can think of is scream vocals. So if you're not a huge fan of that and you'd rather hear him sing, then, this is a good album to listen to. So it is used very sparingly, but it's used effectively whenever it does come in. Another thing is that each song kind of flows very nicely into the next. The album is kind of one cohesive package. I mean, the songs do, of course, work pretty well on their own also, but I think the best way to experience this album is to listen to it from beginning to end, and that's kind of how I feel about some albums. Some albums I think are better just for the songs themselves, and other ones are better when they're just a complete package. And that's kind of how I feel about this one. And yeah, everything just kind of flows together really nicely and makes for a nice experience. Another thing that I kind of like about this album that I feel like could put some people off is how weird it is. Because even though this is a progressive metal album and a progressive metal artist, there's a lot of emphasis on the progressive sense of that, because it is a very strange album. It does a lot of really weird things. It's not like metal through and through. Of course, there are several songs where that does come in. There's a lot of guitars in this album. There's metal drumming and things. Like there's some blast beats on occasion, and some of the songs are kind of aggressive, or have aggressive sections in them at least. But it's not like 100% metal through and through, which again is something else that I like about it. But it's just kind of a really weird album with a whole bunch of kind of genre influences from you know, surf rock in the beginning, orchestral, of course, the metal influence in there, even some pop influence, some kind of jazzy influence at times, kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different stuff that works really nicely. And the writing is pretty complex, the song structure is pretty complex and kind of weird and everything. So I do really like that about it. And then, of course, since this album does have a lot of different influences and things of that nature, there is a lot of variety within this album. Of course, there's some heavier songs, or one or two of them that are just pretty much most of the time are heavy, which the biggest example of this on the album, I think, is Hear Me, which overall is a pretty aggressive song. And then there's a song like Why, which is pretty much the complete opposite. I don't believe there's any guitars or anything in it. I might be wrong about that, but it's mostly just orchestral kind of instruments with Devin singing over them. And then there's songs that have a mixture of it, like the opening and the closing tracks, Genesis and Singularity. I mean, Castaway is technically the opening track, but that's more of an intro, I think. Those songs mix them together very well, and Singularity has a whole bunch of different stuff going on in it because it is a 22-minute long song, I think. Something like that. It's kind of like a song that just takes everything from everywhere in the album, just puts it into one thing. And the album does begin and end very well. Singularity is a great outro sort of thing. Great ending to the album, and then Castaway, the opening, is very nice as well. Again, not like a very metal sort of opening, but it really kind of sets a interesting tone, and I really like how it functions as an intro. And there's a lot of really great moments throughout a lot of these songs as well. A lot of my favorite moments in the album kind of come from the song Genesis, which is probably my favorite on the album. How it kind of goes from softer to heavy and back, kind of a roller coaster sort of thing going on. There's some moments where it's really catchy, like in the beginning of it, kind of the guitars and the drums start kicking into the song. It's kind of catchy. I do kind of wish that section had continued a little bit longer, but the rest of the song is really good, so I can't really complain about it. And like I already mentioned, there's also a lot of really good songs on here. Like I said already, Genesis, really solid song. If you want kind of a shortened version of this album, that's a good one to go to, as is Singularity, but that's a bit more on the lengthy side. That's a great song. Spirits Will Collide is kind of another one of my favorite songs. It's sort of a, not really a ballad, but it's kind of a slower paced song. It's kind of more consistent. It's probably one of the most consistent songs on the album in terms of its structure and things like that. I do really enjoy it. I think it's a really good song. Sprite is kind of a kind of weird one. It starts off with a guy sort of reading or reciting a story, and then it kind of just goes into the rest of the song, which I think is cool. Why, I already mentioned, kind of orchestral with Devin singing over it. Really cool song. And then Singularity, of course, I've also talked at length about, but that is also one of my favorites. And then finally, as far as good things, the lyrics, I think, in this album are generally really good. I like kind of the concept and the message behind the album. If you are interested in this album or like this album or whatever, I highly suggest that you check out, there's a series of videos, I can't remember what channel they're on, but it's like 4 parts with Devin talking about the album as a whole, kind of going song by song, explaining what each one is about. And if you're into the lyrics and the concept and the ideas presented in the album, I definitely suggest you check those out. And that pretty much wraps up the good things. As far as bad things, I really can't think of much of anything. The only thing I can possibly think of that doesn't really apply to me, but it could apply to other people, is, like I said earlier, it is kind of a weird sort of album, so that might put some people off, but other than that, I can't really think of anything wrong with it. Overall, this is a really great album. Definitely check it out if you haven't heard it. It is at least worth seeing if you'll like it, if not, listening to the whole thing. I really enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorite albums of the year. In fact, after listening to it again today, it may very well be within my top 3. Maybe it could be my favorite album of the year, but I'm not gonna say that because there have been several really good albums that have come out this year already, so it's kind of hard to say, but it is probably at least in my top 3. As far as my 3 favorite songs, I've kind of been over those already, but they are Genesis, Spirits Will Collide, and Singularity. I think those are all really great songs. So that's pretty much it for this review. Let me know what you guys think of the album, if you like it or anything like that. And that is pretty much it for the video, so I will see you guys next time.